Alright, so in this video we'll be talking about properties of real numbers. This will be my last video reviewing pre-algebra topics. In the next video we'll actually be looking at some algebra, but for now let's just talk about the properties of real numbers. So there's five basic properties that you'll need to know for algebra. They are commutative property, the associative property, the distributive property, the identity property, and the inverse property. Now all these properties have a definition for both addition and multiplication, and also all these properties they're pretty intuitive. Stuff that you already know, just put into formal properties. So let's start with commutative property. So commutative property for addition tells us that any real number a plus any real number b is equivalent to b plus a. And for multiplication, any real number a times any real number b is equivalent to b times a. And in the future, when I use a or b or c, I'm just meaning any real number. But anyways, all this property is saying is that when we're adding numbers or multiplying numbers together, the order doesn't matter. So to use some concrete numbers here, you can see that 2 plus 5 is the same as 5 plus 2. Regardless of how we add them, we're going to get 7. And likewise for multiplication, 5 times 2 equals 2 times 5. Either way, we get 10. Of course, this doesn't hold true for subtraction or division. 2 minus 5 does not equal 5 minus 2. And 2 over 5 is not equal to 5 over 2. Now, if the commutative property tells us that the ordering of numbers when adding or multiplying does not matter, the associative property tells us that the grouping of numbers does not matter. So for addition, we have the quantity a plus b plus c equals a plus the quantity, there's a plus sign there, a plus the quantity b plus c. And for multiplication, quantity a times b times c is equal to a times the quantity b times c. So what this is saying is that if we have 3 or more terms that we're adding or 3 or more terms that we're multiplying together in an expression, where we put the parentheses does not matter. So with some concrete numbers here, 2 plus 4 plus 5, put the parentheses around the 2 and the 4 is equivalent to 2 plus quantity 4 plus 5. Of course, we use order of operations. We do what's inside parentheses first. So 2 plus 4 equals 6 plus 5 is the same as 2 plus, in parentheses, we get 9. They both equal 11. And for multiplication, it's the same story. 2 times 4, in parentheses, times 5 equals 2 times 4, quantity 4 times 5. So 8 times 5 equals 2 times 20. They both equal 40, you'll see. Alright, so that's the associative property. Next comes the distributive property, which happens to be the least intuitive but most important property you'll need to know for algebra. Hopefully this is just review for you, but knowing this well is important for your success in algebra, so listen up. So the distributive property tells us that if we have a times the quantity b plus c, that is equivalent to a times b plus a times c. Of course, when we put two letters together like that, we're just multiplying them. But what we're doing here is we're distributing this a that's outside the parentheses over the terms that are inside the parentheses. So if we want to rewrite this and use some arrows, we do a times the quantity b plus c equals a times b plus A times C. And so with some real numbers here, we can do 2 times the quantity 4 plus 5 to get 2 times 4 plus 2 times 5. And then we just multiply before addition, order of operations, to get 8 plus 10, which equals 18. And we can check this by adding what's inside the parentheses first. So we get 4 plus 5 to get 9, and then multiplying that by 2 to get 18. So we can see that this checks out and the distributive property is indeed true. There's some more notes that I'll add for distributive property. Because of the commutative property, if you'll remember a couple of minutes ago, if we do the order when we're multiplying does not matter, so we can put the A before the parentheses or after parentheses. So A times the quantity B plus C equals the quantity B plus C times A. Also, we can have more than 2 terms inside the parentheses. We can have 3 or more, any number of terms we want. So A times quantity B plus C plus D. We do the same thing and distribute the A over each term to get A times B plus A times C plus A times D. And also we can subtract the terms inside the parentheses, so we can have A times B minus C. And then we just do A times B and then see the subtraction sign there, and then do A C. So AB minus AC. Alright, now let's try our hand at a little more challenging one. So let's do 4 times the quantity 3 minus x plus 2y. I threw in some letters here. Remember, they're just variables, and you'll see them a lot in algebra. Just treat them like normal numbers. So we do 4 times 3. I put this in parentheses, and then we see the subtraction sign there, so we do minus 4 times x, and then plus again, so we do 4 times 2y. And just work inside the parentheses first. You get 4 times 3 equals 12, minus, and now we just keep the variable to itself, so then we just do 4 times x is just 4x, and then likewise for this one we just do 4 times 2 and keep the y to itself to get 8y. So that's all we can simplify that. So next comes the identity property. So the identity property for addition tells us that a plus 0 equals a, and by the commutative property 0 plus a equals a. So what this is telling us is that if we add 0 to any number, we get that same number, and also 0 is the only number we can add to another number to get a sum that is that same number. And for multiplication, it's a times 1 equals a, and commutative property 1 times a equals a. What this tells us is 1 times any number is that same number, and 1 is the only number we can multiply to another number to get a result that is the same number. And we used this property for multiplication, identity property for multiplication, in the last video when we were trying to convert fractions to a fraction with a different denominator. So if we had 1/6 and we want to convert it to a fraction with the denominator of 12, we had to multiply this fraction had to be equivalent to 1 if we want to keep the original fraction and the product fraction equal. So we did 6 times 2 equals 12, and then put the 2 up there to make this equal to 1, and we got 1/6 is equivalent to 2/12. Alright, so our last property is the inverse property. And for addition, the inverse property tells us that the numbers a and negative a are additive inverses because their sum is equal to 0. So a plus minus a equals 0. So when you add a number and its opposite, you'll get 0. So 5 plus negative 5 equals 0. For multiplication, the numbers b and 1 over b are multiplicative inverses, or we can call them reciprocals of each other because their product is 1. So b times 1 over b equals 1. Of course, b can't be 0 because any number divided by 0 is undefined. But anyway, what this is telling us is that any number times its reciprocal is equal to 1. We've talked about reciprocal a little bit before. Basically, the reciprocal is any number with the numerator and denominator flipped. So if we had 5, which is just equivalent to 5 over 1, its reciprocal, we flip the numerator and denominator to get 1/5. So 5's reciprocal is 1/5. So 5 times 1 over 5 equals 1. That's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.